another video for you. First news story is about Eritrean Martyrs Day, not only in Eritrea but abroad as well. Some programs have been held in connection with Eritrean Martyrs Day. We have some pictures, videos for you. The second news story is from Sudan. The United Arab Emirates UAE has signed a memorandum of understanding with a Sudanese group of companies. The UAE wants to build a port, a seaport in Sudan, and UAE is going to deposit 300 million US dollars in Sudan's central bank. A third news story is from Tigray, a journalist who is seen as pro-Tigray, who has written several investigative stories about atrocities committed against Tigrayans. Today wrote a piece for The Guardian. The journalist claims that situation in Tigray is alarming. Youth is fleeing Tigray. People are being forced to contribute to Tigray government. And lastly, viewers, the Tigray External Affairs Bureau released a detailed statement after this article was published in The Guardian. What is Tigray government's position about some allegations leveled by the journalist, who is a Tigrayan but who was expelled from Ethiopia? She was forced to leave Ethiopia. Firstly, viewers, Eritreans commemorated sacrifices of their martyrs who sacrificed for the sake of independence of Eritrea. On the 20th of June, Eritreans observe Martyrs Day. Not only in Eritrea but abroad as well, programs were held. Eritrean diaspora is very active. Eritrean embassies abroad mobilize Eritrean diaspora community because Eritrean government relies heavily on foreign remittances, and 2% is also paid by several, or you can say most of diaspora community members on their global incomes. So that is why Eritrean embassies stay in touch with the diaspora community, and diaspora community is kept involved in Eritrean affairs. Such days are observed, celebrated not only in Eritrea but abroad as well. Today we saw gatherings, Martyrs Day gatherings in Kenya, Nairobi. You can see on your screen pictures. The pictures are from Nairobi, Kenya. Secondly, you can see some pictures from Phoenix, Arizona, US. Here, Eritreans also commemorated the sacrifices of the martyrs, and we have a video clip as well showing Eritrean diaspora community remembering the sacrifices of Eritrean fighters who fought from 1961 till 1991 for the independence of Eritrea. Watch this clip, then next news story.
Devasai. Devasai. Ka Bluetooth sampai? Ka Bluetooth. Bluetooth.
Secondly, viewers, at a crucial time when Sudan is in crisis, when Sudanese economy is in shambles, when the US and EU have withheld financial assistance to Sudan, UAE has come to the rescue of Sudanese government. United Arab Emirates, which has visible footprints in this region, is now going to have strategic influence in Sudan. UAE has signed an agreement with DAL. DAL is a Sudanese group of companies, and UAE's companies, government-backed companies, they have signed some agreements with DAL Group. What is UAE planning to do? UAE wants to construct a port in Sudan. We know that UAE's DP World is already a shareholder in Somaliland's Berbera port. DP World has 65% shares in Somaliland's Berbera port. Now UAE wants another port, Red Sea port in Sudan. 4 billion US dollars is the cost of this project. The study has been completed, design has been finalized. This port will be situated around 200 kilometers away from Port Sudan, Sudan's main port. Sudan relies on Port Sudan, which is in eastern part of Sudan, but due to recent protests, the port was closed, nearby airport was closed as well, and Sudanese economy suffered a lot. Sudanese government faced problems due to the closure of the port and airport. That is why Sudan has struck a deal with UAE. UAE will build a new port in the Red Sea. Secondly, UAE will deposit 300 million US dollars with Sudan's central bank. Sudanese government is in dire need of currency, of cash, and UAE is going to deposit 300 million US dollars with Sudanese central bank. Thirdly, Sudan already has UAE investments in agricultural sector. This investment will increase to 1.6 billion US dollars. Overall, it's a $6 billion package by the UAE for Sudan. So at a crucial time when Sudanese government is fighting for its survival because economic conditions are very poor, UAE has come to the rescue of Sudanese government, and if these projects are completed, UAE will emerge as a key player in Sudanese internal affairs too. Thirdly, viewers, a journalist who is seen as pro-Tigray, who was expelled from Ethiopia, today wrote an article. The article has been written for the Guardian newspaper. Who is this journalist? Name of the journalist is Lucy Kasa. Lucy Kasa is a Tigrayan, and she has written a lot on sexual violence committed against Tigrayan women, and one piece about sexual violence committed by TDF fighters in Amhara as well. Then she wrote two, I think, news stories about ethnic cleansing of Tigrayans in Western Tigray. In her last piece, she spoke about alleged destruction of evidence by Amhara regional forces militias. The evidence of the massacres committed against Tigrayans is being destroyed in Western Tigray. That was reported by Lucy Kasa. Now Lucy is reporting from Tigray distantly. She's not in Tigray because she was forced to leave Ethiopia. Her flat in Addis Ababa was raided by security forces. She could not work freely in Ethiopia. She was seen as pro-Tigray, so she had to flee Ethiopia. And then we saw her speak on international platforms about human rights abuses committed, especially against Tigrayans in Ethiopia. Now, what is this lady saying? Lucy Kasa has contacted some Tigrayans who have fled Tigray, and name of this piece, written by Lucy Kasa is "It's Death Either Way." It means that if youth lives in Tigray, death for them there. If it leaves Tigray, it's death for them as well, because the youth who are fleeing Tigray, they are at the mercy of smugglers, human traffickers who sometimes abduct them and imprison them. They demand ransom. Why is youth fleeing? First question is, Lucy Kasa says, firstly, there is starvation, there is hunger in Tigray, which we have been talking about as well. It's no revelation. Secondly, conscription. I spoke about that in previous videos. People disagreed. Now, Lucy is reporting the same. There is conscription as well. Young girls and boys are being forcibly recruited by Tigray Defense Force. Parents are being pressurized to send their children to be part of Tigray Defense Force. And thirdly, aid is being embezzled. Embezzlement of provided aid is being reported by Lucy Kasa. That is why Tigrayan youth is trying to flee Ethiopia, trying to flee Tigray, and they can only flee Tigray through Amhara if they want to flee Ethiopia. And to enter Amhara is a risk. Fano, militia there, government forces there, they can be arrested, they can be detained, they can be killed, they can be seen as agents. So these Tigrayans, they then contact smugglers, smuggling networks, human trafficking networks are being run by some former officers of Ethiopian National Defense Force who charge them hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars for helping these youth flee Ethiopia. But sometimes they are detained and government forces imprison them or recruit them to fight against Tigray defense. So Tigray youth is suffering. That is what Lucy Kasa is saying, that if they remain in Tigray, it's death for them, hunger, they'll have to fight. They'll have to be part of TDF. If they leave Tigray, they are then more in danger. Tigray government, after the publishing of this piece, released a statement. Tigray External Affairs Bureau released a statement. Tigray government says that these allegations leveled are baseless. Firstly, there is no conscription. All recruitments by TDF are voluntary. There is no conscription. Tigray has been denying since day one that there is conscription. And secondly, it says that there is no embezzlement of aid, because aid operations, aid distribution is mainly in the hands of aid agencies. Tigray does not have huge say when it comes to distribution of aid. And thirdly, Tigray says that Tigray government is not forcing anyone to contribute money, cash, food to Tigray government, though Lucy claims that according to some Tigrayans, government is forcing poor Tigrayans to contribute money or food to Tigray government. So Tigray has rejected the allegation. Tigray says that journalists should travel to Tigray if they want to report about the situation in Tigray, and Ethiopian government should allow journalists to travel to Tigray. Ethiopian government is not allowing journalists to travel to Tigray. Only we saw Voice of America journalists who were allowed to travel to Humera a few days ago, but their reporting was seen as not the reporting had some limitations because the journalists were not given free and full access. Tigray has denied these allegations, but this is the first time that we are hearing about conscription in Tigray, aid embezzlement, and forced contribution forced by Tigray government on the people of Tigray. Thank you for watching.